After years of speculation, broken engagements, and public pressure, Chrissy Lampkin and Jim Jones have finally spoken out, and what they revealed left fans stunned. The couple everyone assumed would eventually tie the knot just dropped the real reason they'll never walk down the aisle. And it's not what anyone expected. From hidden resentments to explosive behind-the-scenes drama, this revelation has the entire love and hip-hop world questioning everything they thought they knew about their relationship. The love and hip-hop universe has been buzzing with speculation for over a decade about one of its most iconic couples, Chrissy Lampkin and Jim Jones. From their fiery arguments to their passionate reconciliations, fans have watched their love story unfold like a never-ending roller coaster. And through it all, one question has loomed like a shadow. Why haven't they gotten married? Chrissy was the one who famously proposed to Jim back in 2011 during the second season of Love and Hip Hop New York. The world watched in disbelief as she flipped tradition on its head, dropping to one knee and presenting a ring to the man she had been with for years. The scene went viral, sparking debates about gender roles, pride, and commitment. At the time, it felt like the start of a new chapter wedding on the horizon, a fairy tale ending in sight. But year after year passed, and the wedding never came. Instead, fans witnessed more breakups, more reconciliations, and more cryptic comments from the couple. Every reunion episode, every interview, every red carpet appearance, someone would always ask, "When are you two finally tying the knot?" And every time Chrissy and Jim would laugh it off, sidestep the question, or give vague answers about timing and priorities. Until now, in a raw, unfiltered interview that stunned viewers, Chrissy and Jim finally sat down together to reveal the truth behind their decision, and what they shared shook even their most loyal supporters. The interview began calmly enough. Chrissy, dressed in sleek black and gold, sat cross-legged beside Jim, who slouched comfortably in a hoodie and chains, his trademark sunglasses perched on his head. The chemistry between them was undeniable. They laughed easily, finished each other's sentences, and exchanged subtle glances that showed they still shared a deep bond. But when the interviewer gently asked, "So, after all these years, why no wedding?" the air seemed to shift. Chrissy's smile faltered. Jim's eyes dropped. And for a moment, there was silence. Then Chrissy spoke. "Because marriage isn't the prize for me," she said firmly. "Peace is. Respect is. And I don't think people understand that after everything we've been through, chasing a wedding just to prove something to the world doesn't mean anything to me anymore." Jim nodded slowly, adding, "People think marriage fixes things, but if you ain't solid before that paper, it won't make you solid after." Me and Chrissy, we had to unlearn a lot. We were toxic for a long time. That admission alone was shocking. Fans have always seen glimpses of their fiery dynamic on the show. Arguments over trust, loyalty, priorities, but hearing them admit they were toxic hit hard. Chrissy leaned forward, her tone softening. "I loved him so much, I started losing myself. I wanted to be his wife so badly that I forgot who Chrissy was without Jim. And when I proposed, I thought it would give me security. But all it gave me was more confusion. Because he said yes, and then nothing changed." Jim reached out and took her hand. "It's not that I didn't want to marry her," he said, looking directly at the camera. "I just wasn't ready to be the man she needed me to be back then. I was selfish. I wanted to live like I had forever." While she was looking for forever right then, fans online immediately exploded with reactions. As clips from the interview hit social media, many expressed heartbreak. Others said they respected Chrissy's honesty. And some accused Jim of stringing her along for years. Old footage from their proposal moment resurfaced on TikTok and Instagram. Now, with a bittersweet lens, what once seemed like a bold declaration of love now looked like a desperate plea for stability. Chrissy explained further, saying that over time her priorities shifted. "I used to think a ring meant validation," she said, "like it meant I won, like I was chosen. But now I just want peace. I want to wake up happy, not wondering if I'm forcing someone to love me the way I need." Jim nodded in agreement. And that's what we had to learn. We had to break it all the way down, go through the ugly stuff, the therapy, the space, the silence so we could build something real. We might not be married on paper, but she's my family. She's been my family. For longtime fans who've followed their saga, this was groundbreaking. For years, speculation swirled that Chrissy secretly resented Jim for never setting a wedding date, while others believed Jim feared commitment altogether. But hearing them speak openly about emotional damage, codependency, and the pressure of public expectation revealed a far deeper truth. The interviewer asked if they ever seriously considered splitting for good. Chrissy gave a small laugh. "We did, many times. I've packed my bags more times than I can count." Jim smirked. "And I chased her down every time." They both smiled at each other, and in that moment, it became clear. This wasn't a love story defined by traditional milestones. It was defined by survival. Chrissy then addressed the elephant in the room. "People say if he really loved you, he'd marry you by now. But love isn't about proving it to strangers. I don't need a #wedding. I need peace in my home. And for the first time in years, I have that." Jim squeezed her hand. "We've been through what marriages fall apart over. Cheating rumors, money issues, family drama, egos, and we're still here. That means more to me than a wedding picture ever will." By the time the interview wrapped, the internet was in shock. Comment sections were flooded with mixed emotions: heartbreak, admiration, disbelief. Some fans called it inspiring, saying Chrissy had reclaimed her power and stopped waiting for validation. Others called it tragic, accusing Jim of wasting her best years. The debate grew so intense that even other celebrities weighed in, some defending their right to define love on their own terms, others blasting Jim for never making it official. But one thing was undeniable. Chrissy and Jim had finally given the world an answer, and it wasn't what anyone expected. For the first time in over a decade, they weren't dodging the question or playing coy. They were standing together, united, and saying, "We don't need marriage to prove our love." And as much as that shocked fans, it also left many quietly questioning their own beliefs about love, commitment, and what really makes a relationship last. The interview was barely over when the internet caught fire. Within hours, clips of Chrissy and Jim's raw confession flooded social media platforms. Hashtags like #Chrissy deserves better, #protect Chrissy, and #if he wanted to, he would dominated timelines. On the other side, a surprising wave of support emerged under #love, without papers and #team Jim and Chrissy, where fans defended their decision to stay together without marriage. This wasn't just gossip anymore, it had become a cultural debate. Twitter was the first to explode. Some longtime viewers unleashed years of pent-up frustration, claiming Jim had strung Chrissy along and wasted her youth. 14 years and still no wedding? That's not love, that's comfort. One viral tweet read. Another wrote, "Chrissy proposed, got clowned for it, and he still never stepped up. I'm heartbroken for her." But just as many defended the couple. "Not everybody wants marriage. They look happy. Let them live," one fan countered. Another added, "They're showing us real love, choosing each other every day without a paper binding them." Instagram comment sections became battlegrounds. Celebrity pages, fan blogs, even mainstream news outlets posted snippets of the interview, and debates raged underneath. Former castmates began chiming in subtly, dropping cryptic comments that fueled speculation. Erica Mena liked a post, calling Jim selfish, while Safari commented a simple respect under a fan account's clip of Chrissy, saying peace mattered more than a ring. Even Cardi B, who has ties to the Love and Hip Hop franchise, reposted a snippet to her story with the caption, "Different women want different things. Let her be happy." Meanwhile, production sources said Mona Scott-Young, the franchise's executive producer, was stunned by the backlash. The team hadn't expected the interview to hit this hard or spark such emotional responses. One insider admitted they were already debating a special reunion episode centered around Chrissy and Jim's revelation, sensing ratings gold in the chaos. But behind the scenes, Chrissy wasn't celebrating, while Jim brushed off the controversy with his usual nonchalance. Chrissy was visibly shaken. According to close friends, she felt blindsided by how the public turned her vulnerability into ammunition. She had opened up about her emotional pain, hoping to finally quiet the speculation. But instead, the world dissected her words like vultures. "She's tired," one insider revealed. She thought being honest would give her peace. Instead, it's like everyone's screaming louder than ever about what she should do. Jim, however, seemed unfazed. In an Instagram Live days later, he smirked as fans flooded the comments with questions. "Y'all care more about us getting married than we do?" he said, laughing. "We good? Always been good? Ain't nothing changing." That only fueled the fire. Many fans accused him of being dismissive of Chrissy's pain. Some even tagged Chrissy directly, urging her to leave. "He'll never take you seriously," one wrote. "Walk away." Others praised her for standing her ground, calling her a woman who finally put herself first. But the real shock came when someone from Jim's own inner circle spoke out. Mama Jones, Jim's outspoken mother, who has famously clashed with Chrissy for years, went live on Instagram and dropped a bombshell. "I've been saying it from day one. They ain't getting married," she said. Jim don't want that. He loved Chrissy, sure, but he loved being free more. He don't want nobody telling him what to do. And Chrissy know that deep down, the comments sent the internet into a frenzy. Mama Jones had always been a point of tension between the couple, often accused of meddling in their relationship. Her blunt statements seemed to confirm what many suspected, that Jim never truly intended to settle down in the traditional sense, and Chrissy had finally accepted it. Yandy Smith, another longtime castmate, subtly shaded the situation during an unrelated podcast appearance. When asked about marriage and commitment, she said, "If a man loves you, he'll make it clear. You won't have to keep asking." Fans immediately connected the dots, flooding her comments with references to Jim and Chrissy. Through it all, Chrissy stayed quiet. She didn't post on Instagram, didn't respond to comments, didn't defend herself. Insiders said she was deliberately staying offline to avoid the noise, but behind closed doors, she was struggling with mixed emotions. On one hand, she was proud. She had stood in her truth, refused to conform to public pressure, and spoken openly about prioritizing her peace. On the other hand, she felt exposed. Years of pain that she had tried to process privately were now memes, tweets, and gossip blog fodder. Jim, however, saw the whole situation differently. According to friends, he felt liberated. "He thinks the pressure is finally off," one source claimed. "He's been resisting the marriage conversation for years. Now it's out there. He feels like people will stop asking." But they weren't stopping. TMZ ran a headline reading, "Chrissy gave up on a wedding. Fans say Jim wasted her time." The Shade Room posted a poll asking followers if Chrissy made the right choice staying with Jim without marriage. Nearly 70% voted no. Even Wendy Williams' replacement host mentioned the interview during Hot Topics, saying, "This man dodged a wedding for 14 years. At some point, gotta ask yourself if he's your partner or your obstacle." Friends of Chrissy said she wasn't angry at Jim, but she was quietly hurt. "It's not that she wants the wedding now," one said. "It's that she feels like people are laughing at her, like she's the woman who waited forever and got nothing to show for it." Meanwhile, Jim remained defiant. In another live stream, he doubled down, saying people want to act like marriage is the only way to prove love. But half the people married ain't happy. We happy. That's what matters. The contrast between them was striking. Chrissy processing years of emotional scars while Jim seemed to shrug off the public pressure like it was nothing. And that difference was starting to quietly create new cracks. Insiders whispered that arguments had flared. Behind the scenes in the days after the interview, not about getting married, that topic was dead, but about respect. Chrissy reportedly told Jim she felt like he wasn't defending her from the backlash, that he was leaving her to face it alone while he joked with fans online. She told him, "I stood up for our love and now I look like a fool," the source revealed. Jim allegedly responded, "You only look like a fool if you care what they think." That answer cut deep. For the first time in years, people close to the couple quietly wondered if they were truly on the same page anymore, or if this revelation had just exposed the deep emotional divide. They'd been ignoring DAT, as fans and blogs kept speculating. Production insiders confirmed they were trying to convince Chrissy and Jim to film a follow-up special. The network wanted them to sit down together again and address the backlash, hoping it would calm the storm or reignite ratings. But Chrissy hadn't decided yet. She's tired of performing her pain, one source said. She's tired of the storyline. Jim, as always, said nothing. But one thing was clear. The interview meant to bring peace had instead unleashed chaos. And for the first time in years, the strongest couple in love and hip-hop history looked fragile. The silence in the studio was deafening. As Jim and Chrissy sat across from the interviewer for what was supposed to be a closing thoughts segment, the crew expected a quick wrap-up, maybe a few sweet words about love conquering all. Instead, what they got was a raw, unfiltered unraveling of everything that had held Chrissy and Jim's relationship together and everything that had slowly pulled it apart. Jim looked unusually tense, his leg bouncing under the table while Chrissy sat still, her hands folded tightly in her lap. The interviewer gently asked, "So, after all these years, do you see a wedding ever happening?" Jim exhaled hard through his nose, looked over at Chrissy, and then said the words that would set social media on fire. "No," he said flatly. "We're never getting married." A stunned pause filled the air. Chrissy didn't flinch. It was as if she'd been waiting for him to finally admit it out loud. "People think it's about commitment." Jim continued, "But we've been committed to each other longer than most married couples I know. What they don't get is marriage would change what we have, and not for the better." The interviewer, visibly caught off guard, asked him to elaborate. Jim leaned forward, voice dropping lower as if confessing a deep secret. "The moment we say I do, it becomes about paperwork, property, lawyers, and who owns what if things go bad. We've watched too many people go down that road. It destroys them. I can't let that destroy us. I can't let that destroy us." Chrissy nodded slightly, her eyes glassy but calm. "Marriage is beautiful for some people," she said softly. "But for us, it became this weapon people used to judge our love. Every year, every season, the pressure grew. And the more people pushed, the more I realized, maybe I wanted the idea of marriage more than the reality of it with him." Her voice trembled on the last sentence. Jim reached over and took her hand, something rare for him to do on camera. "I love you how you are," he told her. "I don't need a wedding to prove that." But the internet wasn't buying it as soon as the episode aired. Timelines exploded. Some fans applauded their honesty, saying it was refreshing to see a couple reject societal expectations. Others were furious, accusing Jim of stringing Chrissy along for over a decade, wasting her time, and leaving her with nothing to show for her loyalty. Comments flooded in. She waited 14 years just to be told marriage would ruin what they have. Unreal. Chrissy deserves someone who actually wants to commit. Not just coast forever. This is real love. Not everyone needs a piece of paper. She built him up. And he still can't give her a ring. Wow. The debate raged for days. Relationship podcasts dissected their body language. Talk shows invited therapists to analyze why long-term couples sometimes avoid marriage. Even other Love and Hip Hop cast members Wade and Yandi posted a cryptic story saying, "Some men just want the benefits, not the responsibility," while Mama Jones went live, laughing and saying, "Told y'all he wasn't getting married?" But while the world argued, Chrissy and Jim quietly disappeared from the spotlight for a few days. When they resurfaced, it was through Chrissy's Instagram, where she posted a black and white photo of them sitting on a rooftop together looking out over the city. The caption read, "We don't need a wedding. We need peace. We're good." The comment section was divided, but there was no denying the strength in her words. For the first time in years, Chrissy didn't look like a woman waiting. She looked like a woman who had made peace with the life she had, instead of the one the world expected from her. In an exclusive behind-the-scenes clip released later, Chrissy explained that the public pressure to get married had almost destroyed their relationship. There was a time, she admitted, when I stopped seeing the man I loved and only saw the man who wouldn't marry me. That wasn't fair to him, and it wasn't fair to me either. I was chasing validation, not happiness, Jim. Sitting beside her added, people act like marriage is the end goal. But for us, just surviving everything we've been through, fame, money, lies, family drama, that's the real accomplishment. If we can be solid through all that, we don't need rings. We just need each other. And maybe, in some strange way, that was the closest thing to a love story they could offer. Not a fairy tale ending with a wedding, but an imperfect love that survived everything else. Still, for many fans who had rooted for them from the start, the news was heartbreaking. They had hoped for a wedding special, a fairy tale moment to close the chapter. Instead, they got a bittersweet truth. Chrissy and Jim had chosen love, but not marriage, as the credits rolled on their confessional. Chrissy smiled faintly and said, "We've already made it further than anyone thought we would. That's enough for me." Jim kissed her hand, and for the first time in the entire episode, he smiled. "Forever," he whispered. It wasn't the ending fans had imagined, but maybe it was. The one they needed to hear, because sometimes love isn't about following the rules. It's about rewriting them. Chrissy and Jim's decision has left fans divided. Some see it as strength, others as heartbreak. Do you think their choice to never marry is proof of real love? Or a sign they've been avoiding the truth all along? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to stay updated as this love and hip-hop drama continues to unfold, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next revelation might be even more shocking.